often ask me, how do you write a strong female character? And the short answer to this is write a good character. Write someone with agency who drives the plot and earns the audience's investment. A good character is a good character whether they're male or female, straight or gay, trans or cis or non-binary. Neither gender nor sexual identity changes the fundamentals of the writing craft. But it's a question that comes up a lot, and I've seen plenty of complaints about this terrible female character and that terrible female character. So I thought it would be worth exploring how to create a great female character through 5 common archetypes, what their pitfalls are, and some strong modern examples for each of those archetypes. Now, because this script is long, I'm splitting this video into 2 parts. So part 1 will cover the warrior and the manipulator character archetypes, and part 2 will cover the spy, the matriarch, and the witch or mystic. So, welcome to another episode of Just in Time Worldbuilding with your host, Marie Mullaney. We're going to start with the female archetype that comes up the most for condemnation, the badass warrior. The female warrior is the classic strong female character archetype, a woman who fights with skill and courage, often matching or surpassing her male counterparts in combat prowess. She might be a swordswoman, a soldier, a rebel, or any role that demands physical bravery and capability. This archetype appeals because it subverts the old norm of women as passive figures and instead places them right in the thick of the action, whether on battlefields or carrying out quests. But it is also one of the archetypes that is the most prone to shallow interpretation. Too often, writers create a female warrior who is physically strong, but has no emotional depth and no flaws, resulting in a cardboard tough girl stereotype. A well-written warrior, male or female honestly, should be more than a collection of fight scenes. She needs motivations, vulnerabilities, and growth beyond her martial abilities. So let's talk about some of the most common pitfalls. The first is one-dimensional toughness. This is when the warrior is solely defined by being a badass, with no other personality traits or weaknesses. It creates a very flat character. Every great character, warrior or not, needs humanizing traits, be it empathy, doubt, humor, or vulnerability. Pitfall 2 is overcompensating by rejecting femininity. Some writers strip away all feminine attributes or emotional expression in order to make the warrior seem strong. But this honestly backfires. Stoicism without context just makes the character seem robotic. Remember, strength isn't only about stoic aggression. Especially in a novel, strength can just as easily be emotional resilience, compassion, or strategic thinking. Pitfall 3 is the trauma as a backstory cliché. I hate this one. Giving a warrior a traumatic past can absolutely be done well. I'm not saying it can't. But it is too often used as a lazy sole justification for why she fights. The cliché goes like this. Men did terrible things to her when she was young, and now she's on the battlefield. But bad things have happened to many people. Not all of them become warriors, male or female. A warrior can have positive motivations. She can have duty, loyalty, love for her people. Trauma is not the only path that legitimizes warrior strength. Anyway, I like talking about positive examples for how to do these things. So let's explore a positive example of a female badass warrior, Mizu from Blue Eye Samurai. The story is set in 17th century Edo, Japan. Mizu is a master swordswoman, but the narrative fully explores the societal constraints and personal struggles that forged her. She does have trauma in her past, but it's handled well. In her world, women are treated as property and barred from the life of adventure. To survive, Mizu disguises herself as a man. This immediately gives her character depth. She's not just swinging a sword to look cool, she's fighting for survival and self-determination in a hostile patriarchal world. The show acknowledges that her path is the path of necessity. If she wants vengeance for her mother and for herself, if she wants to claim any agency at all in this quest, she has to walk this road. And that context grounds the character in a believable struggle. Even better, Mizu has an incredible emotional arc. At the start, she's ruthlessly focused on vengeance, but as the story unfolds, we explore what brought her to this point, and we see the moments of kindness and connection that start pulling her out of the dark tunnel. Her growth makes her deeply compelling. And crucially, we see her limitations and pain. She's not invincible. She loses fights. She gets beaten up. Her quest for revenge leaves emotional wounds inside her. That makes her victories feel earned and not inevitable. The writing also avoids sexualizing her. For much of the story, she's literally hiding her gender, so all of her appeal comes from her skill, her wit, and her determination, not from how hot she looks in a chainmail bikini. And that's why I think Mizu is an example worth studying if you want to write a great female warrior. Warrior women are not defined only by combat. They are defined by the heart and context that drive them to take up arcs, and by the growth arc that they go through in the course of their story. Just before we talk about the chess master or the femme fatale, give me a moment to invite you to sign up for my newsletter. It comes out 4 times a year and is prop full of actual world building content, not just links to my videos. Also, subscribers get a Christmas present from me in the shape of a novella. So, if you enjoy my writing or world building ideas, sign up down below. Alrighty, enough of that. Let's move on to the Manipulator. This is the female character who wields power through intellect, charm, and deceit rather than brute force. She might be a political schemer, an alluring double-crosser, or the mastermind pulling strings from the shadows. Often labeled a femme fatale or a chess master, this is the woman who uses people as pieces in her game. The manipulator can be deliciously compelling. Think of characters who always seem one step ahead, whose machinations twist the story in shocking ways. But writing her comes with some big challenges because it is very easy to slide into cliché. The manipulative woman who is defined only by seducing men, being evil for evil's sake, or acting as the spider in the center of a web with no real personality of her own, is not a compelling character. So to do this archetype well, she needs as much nuance as any protagonist. She needs clear motives, a distinct personality, vulnerabilities, and limitations. So first, let's break down the common pitfalls, and then we'll talk about a good example which was well done. Pitfall 1 is the femme fatale caricature. This is where the manipulative woman is presented purely as a hypersexualized male fantasy. It is what it is, guys. The classic femme fatale is a self-sufficient, strong, seductive, and dangerous, but all in a one-dimensional way. If her sex appeal is her first and only weapon, she becomes a stereotype instead of a plot-driving character. To avoid this, don't make seduction her only skill, and don't frame her power as inherently villainous simply because she's sexually confident. Give her coherent goals beyond ensnaring men, and treat her with the same respect you'd give a male mastermind. She can have sex appeal, sure, but she should have more than that. Pitfall 2 is a lack of motive or depth. A manipulator without believable motives becomes a mustache-twirling, mwahaha villain. And no, I know she doesn't literally have a mustache, but she might as well have one the way some of these characters are written. Too often, writers just make her scheme just because. Evil for the thrill, or generic ambition without developing why she wants power, or what personal stakes she has in power. Real people, even cunning antagonists, have desires and rationales. Maybe she seeks vengeance for past wrongs. Maybe she fears losing her status. Or maybe she truly believes that her rule would be better. Remember, every manipulator is the hero of her own story. Forgetting that leads to flat characterization. Pitfall 3. The overpowered genius. This is the flip side of the femme fatale caricature. If she's always 10 steps ahead of everyone and never makes mistakes and never faces setbacks, the audience will ask, okay, but why isn't she ruling the world already? This strains believability. Great manipulators must occasionally falter. They should have blind spots or emotional attachments that complicate their plans. Pride, love, or overconfidence can all be effective Achilles' heels. That's what makes their schemes interesting and keeps the readers watching to see what happens next. Pitfall 4 is a lack of humanizing qualities. A manipulator can be an antagonist or an anti-hero, but if she's completely icy and inhuman, readers will disengage. Layer in some relatability. Maybe she truly loves one person, even if she betrays them later. Maybe she has a moral line she won't cross. These touches prevent her from becoming a cartoon villain and instead make her a fascinating, morally grey figure. Okay, so with that out the way, what does a good manipulator make? Let's talk about Melisande Scheherazade from Jacqueline Carey's Cashil's Dart. Spoilers, obviously. Melisande is beautiful, elegant, and unfathomably cunning. She loves manipulation and games, and she is a deadly political chess master. But crucially, she avoids the pitfalls. She has clear, ambitious motive. She aims to seize the throne and reshape the kingdom's power. Her machinations, treasonous plots, pawns moved into place, and long-term strategies all serve that vision. At one point, she even says to Fedre, the protagonist, "What harm to the peasant people if I sat on the throne? I would be a good queen." Paraphrasing, because I don't remember the exact quote. And this conviction makes her formidable as an enemy. Those who underestimate her pay dearly. Even highly intelligent characters like Fedre's mentor, Annephile Delaney, fall victim to her outmaneuvering. We as readers respect Melisande because we see her shrewdness in action. She anticipates moves, lays intricate traps, and yet enough of her agenda remains mysterious to keep us intrigued. And while she is sexually charismatic, and she famously seduces Fedre, throwing years of training out the window, Melisandre's intelligence and sheer nerve are equally prominent. She'll stake everything on a bold gamble, or vanish coolly when one scheme collapses, only to re-emerge with an even grander plot. At one point, after seemingly being defeated, she looks Fedra in the eye and says, "I am not done." And then the bells start to ring with news of fresh treason. That's the kind of presence she has. She always returns, always remains a lingering threat. Importantly, Melisande isn't punished by the narrative in the typical femme fatale way. She isn't killed off or humiliated as a cautionary tale. Instead, she's treated as a Moriarty figure, a worthy adversary with agency, not just a sexy hurdle for the hero to overcome. And she has human complexity. She genuinely loves her son. She has a real fondness for Fedra, enough that Melisande spares Fedra's life at a crucial moment, which ironically ensures the eventual failure of Melisande's plot. That contradiction, capable of ruthless betrayal, but also real attachment, is what makes her fascinating. Melisande is, quite simply, one of the finest examples of a manipulator written in modern fantasy. She's dangerous, yes, but she's also layered, motivated, and treated with respect by the narrative. And that's where we'll leave things for today. In the next video, we will talk about 3 more archetypes: the spy, the matriarch, and the witch or mystic. So make sure you're subscribed, ring the bell, and let me know in the comments, who is your favorite female warrior character and who's your favorite manipulator or femme fatale in fantasy. And finally, a huge thanks to all of my channel members who make these videos possible, especially the just-in-timers of the Stone tier: Tony Lamanna, Katie Kofi Mug, Epic, Necromancer JM, A. Wellyard, Neil Buckley, and Laura Bones 79. Along with everyone at the wood and straw tier whose support make this channel possible. If you would like to support the channel, one free way to do that is simply to watch another video. If you like this video, you will probably enjoy my video on writing internal character arcs, which is on screen now, or you can follow whatever the algorithm recommends next. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon for another episode of Just in Time World Building.